So anyways, sorry, I got interrupted in the middle of recording this one by the delivery people who are helping me with the new green screen setup, which I don't have all the pieces of yet. So this is still the old green screen, but forgive me for being a little out of breath. So I had to go and, I say I had to, I went ahead and volunteered to help carry things so she didn't have to. So the episode, Tio Maro. Tomorrow. His name is Tomorrow. I did call it, though. Twister Dude. I have to also point out, one of their earliest missions was dealing with Mr. Twister Dude, you know, John Delancey. And this is their first, this is the mission where they conclude that arc. And it's the first time they've saved the world. Like, you notice that, right? I say saved the world. Of course, that itself is a misnomer. As Tornado himself points out, he saved humanity. Or at least saved them from a very big mess. It's actually admirable. And it's kind of neat that this is the first time they did it. And, of course, they didn't do it alone. They did need the help of Torpedo, Inferno, and Tornado to do it. But they did it. Nice touch. I found myself thinking about this. Like, at what point they would really start to succeed as a team basically on their own. And this is still not on their own. Just like defeating the Injustice League was not on their own. But, you know, we're getting there. We're getting there. I did feel like pointing one thing out really quick, though. I know this is actually part of the Injustice League thing, but you'll notice back in the Injustice League episode, they didn't even fight when the main heroes showed up. They were just like, yeah, okay, we surrender. I only point that out because that, again, helps to show why that was a good tactic there. And it doesn't diminish the accomplishments of our team, the Young Justice team, because they wore them out and wore them down and kept them stalled long enough for the big guns to get here and then say, okay, yeah, we're not even going to fight. That's one of the best battles you could have when you don't have to actually fight. And it doesn't apply here quite as well, but I do like the fact that this battle goes very smoothly, mostly because of their willingness to think and to act as a team. You notice that bit where, you know, Connor is being Connor, right? It is, it's Calder who talks him down. You know, in fact, I wrote it down where I wrote down. More than a weapon. There it is. There it is. He tells him, you know, he has a chance to prove that he is more than the weapon he was built to be. Nice touch. Nice touch. Of course, that's going to reach out to Connor. And, of course, it does convince him. I like it. So Zatanna, right, she shows up, picks up on the psychic thing. Not that hard, obviously. Anybody with a brain would pick up on the fact that they're talking psychically because they just kind of do this thing. I've actually thought about this before from an animator's trick. It's kind of a neat thing to have them talk telepathically to each other regularly because they can still gesticulate as if they were, you know, as if they were talking normally, and they do tend to gesticulate as if they were talking normally. But you don't have to bother with lip syncing, which is, believe it or not, one of the more irritating aspects of animation. In fact, I don't know if this is true anymore, I shouldn't say this, but back in the day, there was a separate team whose only job was animating the lips to sync with what they were saying, you know, kind of like on top of the layer of the rest of the animation, so we can just skip that step. So, they kidnap Zatanna, and for some reason, Robin decides this is the episode to go ahead and go full Wally on Zatanna. What is it with the Bats family? And always going after the dark, brooding... Never mind. So their logic. Well, Batman is logical, and he's looked everywhere. So naturally, we're going to do the dumbest thing we possibly can, which is ask someone who has an obvious reason for knowing where it is. I do like how they trick him, though. We're going to use our telepath magic spell. A quick aside, by the way. My subtitles, because I like to watch things with subtitles on. My subtitles said, speaking Latin, whenever Zatanna would cast a spell. That's not Latin. That's speaking in reverse. I know, I've done plenty of voice editing. I know what it sounds like when a voice is talking in reverse, or saying words backwards. I just thought that was funny that they tried to be like, oh, that's totally Latin. No, it isn't. Anyways, let's see, look at my notes. So why does Tio Maro want to destroy the League? Is that ever explained? Is that from the comics? Like, a lot of this was new to me because I didn't really know Tornado, and I've never really thought much of him, so it's just like, huh? Why is... What's his big thing? Although, nice touch with Firebrand and Red Torpedo, the actual Silver Age. Although, you'll notice they give away the fact that he's an android like 2 scenes before they reveal it. He talks about, oh yes, this great man, he had this dream, and he talks about the Silver Age, excuse me. And he looks like he's in his mid to late 40s. Yeah, no, if he was actually around in the Silver Age, he'd be a little older than that, probably. Although, then again, how old is Bats at this point? So maybe I'm an idiot. So tomorrow is an android. Gasp. Why is the villain trying to wipe out all life on the planet? I know why he's doing it. It's because he was programmed to do it. We don't know why he was programmed to do it because we don't know why his programmer was programmed to do it. This is the problem when you have no motivations for your villain. It's just a chain of, huh? I do like, there's this bit where they start to fight him. They say, message received, and I remember sitting this, watching this going, wait, what? That caught me. And then they start fighting him, and they're holding back. And he is clearly holding back against them. We've seen what Red Tornado can do full tilt. Or, well, actually, no, we haven't, but we've seen what he can do against this team. He did this the last time they fought. He is clearly holding back, so I'm like, okay. So he communicated to them somehow. And then, the big guy reveals, hey. I actually really like this because too often fiction seems to perceive the idea that if you can't speak, you can't communicate, which is incredibly untrue. There are a lot of ways to communicate without your words. Now, granted, he did use his words, but you get my point. I just like that they used that. Very intelligent. There's also a nice bit during the fight. Oh, humanity will be destroyed. We're not human. At this point, aren't there like a lot of non-humans wandering around? Like, isn't that normal at this point? Aliens are kind of just, yesterday's news. I don't know. So then he goes, talks to them. He's like, listen. We need to stop this. Why? We are no longer human. No. The premise of your question is flawed. You were never human, but you were always heroes. Yeah, okay. I like to think personally that they have, let's call it overriding programming, that if they see or otherwise interact with their creator, they have to do what he says, period. But he's gone. Tomorrow's gone. So that override isn't there, so they can think for themselves, so they decide to go out as heroes. That just makes sense to me. As an aside, by the way, you'd think a Stage 3 volcano would be a good time to call in the League. I mean, I know it might be too late, but at least warn someone, right? Which brings me to mind, did nobody in the League notice Yellowstone starting to erupt? Anyways. So, of course, all 4 cardinal elements fight, the last one being Earth. Earth dies, wind almost dies, if not for Connor. Nice touch there. And then then Tornado gets rid of all the ash. And, okay, now I can see Red Tornado as a high tier. Okay, I give up, guys, you win. So the episode concludes. I don't know if that's accurate, but it does seem to be true, trying to be more human. Connections of the team, nice denouement in general. It was actually a really good, feel-good episode and a nice concluder arc. You'll notice that this episode doesn't end with a stinger of any kind. Not really, other than she's grounded forever. No, instead this just kind of ends because this is the end of that particular arc. So we'd still have several dangling arcs going forward, but it's nice to see they are willing to do these kind of mini arcs throughout a season, because sometimes string continuity stories get too focused on doing one arc and nothing else. So it's just nice to see this kind of writing. That's all I got to say. I'll see you next time.